Hey guys, happy Friday. There's a story in the Bible, I think it's Genesis, of Sodom and Gomorrah. It's probably, it would have to be censored now because it's homophobic. But Sodom was like, modern day America, just full of degeneracy, a big promotion of the whole LGBTQ agenda. Finally, God had enough because God's homophobic and he wiped out Sodom. At least that's the story. And there's a couple of people that were righteous enough to leave, and one was Lot and his wife. And the instruction God gave to them was when you leave the city, do not look back. And of course, Lot's wife, she looked back, and as the punishment, she turned into a pillar of salt. And I love her. I love her because it's so human. I can relate more to Lot's wife than I can to Lot because I think I would look back. I I'm basically a pillar of salt now. I look back at my life. And but there's a metaphor here. I don't believe this really happened. She didn't really become a pillar of salt, but it was a way for God to teach us sometimes you need to move on. You need to stop looking in the past, quit looking back. And I think that's a good metaphor to where we are in America with the whole, I'm not even sure what to call it, but let's say Republicans, conservatives, right wing, dissident. I'm not, whatever group you want to put that in, MAGA. It's ill defined, but I think you know what I'm talking about. And for so long, people on the right, however you define that, or even conservatives, they've been always about looking in the past. If you think about it, ever since I was a kid, the conservatives, they obsess over the Constitution like it's the Bible. And what does the Constitution say? And then they debate stuff like natural law. And they look back at the past, at what did the founding fathers say? And while I've done that, but there's the time you need to put that aside and look in the future. You need to go forward. And part of the reasons a conservative, I don't like that term anymore because it's like you're trying to conserve something in the past, but times change, people change, you got to adapt. You just can't look at the what used to be. Like I'm sure Sodom was once a nice city before it became degenerate, but eventually you just got to let it go and you got to move forward. I've seen this in my old life. I don't know if you guys have done this. If you go back to, let's say, your own old homeland and you're older, it's weird. It kind of looks the same, but it's like totally different, and it's uncanny valley feeling about it. I do that when I go back to Lakewood, Colorado. It's not the Lakewood, Colorado I remember as a kid growing up in. And I think there's a lesson we need to look forward, and conservatives need to look forward. We need to stop obsessing about like the Cold War. The Cold War ended in 1989. I was against the Soviet Union, good for Ronald Reagan, but that's been gone for a long time. Or endless debates about the Constitution. Well, those people are all dead, and the people that follow the Constitution are all dead, and I don't think we follow the Constitution for years anymore. So it's kind of fun to bring that up. It feels like LARPing. Debates about natural law and philosophy, Locke, and all that. The people that are pouring into this country, they have no idea what that is. They have no interest in it. It is something that came from our people. While it's useful to look back on, we need to look forward. Tax policy, it's important, but we got to move from that. Or building up the military to be strong, that's a typical Republican position. Or endlessly debating about abortion. I think this is why Trump wants to put that behind us. Roe versus Wade is overturned. It's at the state level. Let's move forward. Or even like capital punishment. That used to be a big thing with conservatives. I support it, but again, we need to look forward that all of that really doesn't matter if we don't have a homeland and our people. So we're living now not in the age of ideology. I was born into the age of ideology. And ideology, honestly was mostly a white person thing where intellectuals get together and they debate. Then they have movements, whether it's going to be Bolshevism or National Socialism, or libertarianism or capitalism or whatever the American ideal is, socialism. It's all a bunch of people from Europe and North America primarily that got animated by these positions. But the rest of the world doesn't live that way. They live very tribal. And we've seen this now in many cases where they pour into our homelands. They're not so interested in ideology per se, they're interested in their people. I met a friend recently from the Pacific Northwest, and while Asians are good people, once they get to be so many in a community like where he lives, they become a little less friendly. They're a little bit more, they stick together. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we, as our people, we need to learn the same. We need to understand now we're out of the age of ideology. We're in the age of identity. And identity, what does that mean? Who are we? How do we define it? I think that's going to be a key thing for us. And then out of that will come a desire for self-determination so we can live based on what we are as a people. This is what other groups do, and I think this needs to be our focus. And not many conservatives look in that direction. They will just go back and look at the Constitution or debate natural law or Locke or whatever, look at the founding fathers. And again, that's looking back. That's looking back. And if you keep looking back, you're going to be a pillar of salt and you're not going to be of any use. We need to look forward. Talk to you guys later.